Welcome to the Calm Mind podcast, a show about life's transitions. I'm Ellie, and your co-host is Pamela. Today, we're talking about turning 50. What does it mean for women? What does it not mean? And then, what can you do if you're having a hard time with that number? Okay, let's get into it. So, welcome everyone. Welcome to episode 1 of the Calm Mind podcast. And there is my lovely co-host, Pamela.
Hello.
So, Pamela, what do we need to keep a calm mind about today?
So many things, but today we're keeping a calm mind about transitioning into a certain age that we're so nervous about or not happy about sometimes.
What's that certain age?
Let's say turning 50. Keeping a calm mind about this. It's so different for everyone. I think the journey, some people I talk to are like excited to start a new journey or a new chapter in their life. And some people are really super nervous and anxious about letting go of the past and their youth and just facing a new era that's not considered what they have been going through, which is young stage. So they considering themselves being elderly or just the end of their life. I'm just experiencing different ways of people's emotions. And I think from one particular instance, I feel like that's something we should talk about.
I'm game.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I think I'm approaching to that age. So I haven't really thought about it. I'm mostly worried about other things. But I think when it gets close, I'm going to have a bunch of things to question about myself. And then I don't know how that's going to make me feel. But this is good. We're doing this because prepare me for then.
How far off are you? If I can be so bold.
I'm 47 now, soon to be 48.
Oh.
So I'm there. I have this picture in my mind how I want to look like and be like when I'm reaching 50. I don't really think about it much because I've never been worried about age. To me, it's just like my presence and the way I am right now. It doesn't really bother me. But I do remember when I was younger, when I was turning 21, I had this big moment where I was, instead of being super excited, I had this like plateau where I was worried and I stressed about certain things. And I think I was just coming out of school. I wanted to be in a career and I wanted to be in a relationship. So I had a little breakdown. I'm assuming that's how it is when one is hitting 50. They have a certain standards for themselves, or they think, what do you think? Do you think they compare themselves with other people or what society thinks they should look like or be, or what level of achievements they should be in? I don't know. What do you think, Ellie?
There's so many things to focus on about turning 50, but I think there are 2 areas that I'd like to focus on mainly, which are the appearance aspect, the aging process, and the sense of, have I accomplished everything that I think I should have accomplished by now?
Yeah, it's true. I think that's like in the back of our mind always. But yeah, when you're facing this big number, I shouldn't call it big, but this number, then it's highlighted. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's think about, so what about the appearance?
I did a little research before we got on to talk to each other, and I noticed that it's obvious, but there's so much pressure on appearance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, what do you think is the main, just surface level issue that women are dealing with as they approach the 50?
When it comes to appearance, you mean?
Yeah.
Depends also where you live in the world and what city you live in. But
Yeah. Yeah.
since we're influenced by media, for sure, by like celebrities and also, so yeah, appearance, weight probably is number one issue for most people at all times, but also when you're hitting 50 because you're dealing with hormonal imbalances and menopause. So your body completely changes. It's not like when you were 20 where you can eat everything you want and not worry about it. And then me coming from an industry, the beauty industry, where I think mostly men get old, they get wrinkles. They're like aging like fine wine, right? Then the women, they start getting flaws and then they compare themselves to, again, younger version of themselves. And then they think, oh, I'm like sagging here, or I have stretch mark there, or I don't fit into the jeans that I used to, so on and so on. So yeah, so definitely the way your body changes for sure. What do you think? Do you think that was one of your thoughts as you?
Since I'm on the other side of 50, I'm 2 years past that. I've always been self-conscious about my weight. I've never been able to eat anything I want, ever. I've always...
Except when you're with me.
Well, yeah. Well, you know how to cook, so what am I supposed to do? Yeah. But yeah.
We complain afterwards. At least I do.
Complain about the eating?
I ate too much, or that wasn't supposed to eat that. I don't know.
Yeah. So the big 50 hasn't been such a big issue for me. I wasn't particularly afraid of it. It didn't really freak me out. I do have hormone issues, though. I do have hot flashes. So who knows? But yeah, so coming back to the concept of course, there's the appearance issue, but then there's also the internal struggle of, I think, identity issues. So what does it mean to be 50? Because you're definitely not young anymore. That's the whole young thing. It's over. There's no delusion about it.
Yeah. And then I get like excited when I see women that are 80 and they're just starting a date or starting a new adventure. Yeah. Oh, there's hope. Yeah, for sure. Like I come from a culture where there's just like a certain standard set for the woman. And yeah, when you reach 50, you're supposed to have been married and maybe have children. And then now you're like waiting for your grandchildren. I don't know if that's possible for me, but or in the professional world where you're established in your career and you have achieved things, so on and so on. So there's different standards for everyone. And for sure, as women, I think we have more pressure on us or I think we set for ourselves pressures that like, oh, I'm 50, I should have done this, I should have done that. Whereas a male person could be like, oh, I'm 50, I'm going to date some chick that's 25 years younger than me. No big deal. I don't have kids or going to have grandkids soon. In my career, I'm on my third one, but who cares? I'm making X amount of money and whatever. So I think they look at it a little different than we do. For sure. Yeah. What you were saying, it's like how we feel inside, and that kind of is connected to the first one, which is how we look outside and then how we feel inside.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember watching a Wanda Sykes comedy special 20 years ago now, where she talks about feeling 26. I guess she's walking on the beach and she's feeling 26. She's feeling really good about herself. She's strutting. Yeah, I look good. And then she sees a 26-year-old. And
that's how I'm supposed to look like.
Yeah. So when you're describing men, how you suspect men might feel, I think you're also maybe describing me, because I'm a little bit delusional. Because I think I look the same. I'm the same.
That's blissful, isn't it?
until I look in the mirror or I look at a photograph, and then I'm no longer feeling 26. Oh, reality. Oh no. So it's good and it's bad. So
Yeah.
there is an identity struggle there.
Yeah, there is. We measure ourselves constantly with
Don't we like I for the longest time I had this bathroom with really good lighting. It was like soft, dewy lighting and plus my eyesight isn't that great and I don't wear glasses very often. The world is a Monet or a Manet. I don't know. And
Okay.
so, yeah, everything's like in beautiful soft focus when I'm looking at myself in the mirror. I'm like, bad. And then photographs, reality come and I get a little upset, a little crestfallen.
I guess you should be like me. For our viewers who don't know, I'm visually disabled, so everything is like a blur for me. So everyone looks great. So sometimes my daughter is like, "Mom, like are you really gonna?" I'm like, "Yeah, I feel great," and I forget. It's not about how I feel; it's about how I look. I can't see the details well, and she's, "Mom, really?" And so feel like it's a gift right now because now I don't have to worry about 50 because I still have that image of looking youthful. Not really, but like certain what I remember last. Anyways, I just thought I'd put that in there.
Delude yourself. I look great.
But bad light.
Why not? Yeah. Okay, so we wove our way into the larger philosophical question here, I think, of what does it mean to be 50? Who am I now that I'm 50 that I wasn't when I was 20?
Yeah, there's definitely a really positive story, we could say. And then there's a negative story we can create for ourselves, and we could say. The positive, I would say, would be we're wiser, we're more experienced, we're more calm, we're more grounded, hopefully. And then the negative we could say is we don't look the way we did, or we don't have that approach towards things like we used to when we just didn't care. We're like, let's just go do it. But I like aging because I think that it's brought me so much different level of confidence, and it's actually brought me calm because the way I react now is different than I would react then. So I choose to look at it at a positive angle.
I agree. I came kicking and screaming into my mid 40s. I think, reflecting on it, I felt really self-conscious about being older. I think because I picked it up from the cues around me that I should feel nervous about it. And then slowly, I think I just got tired of feeling nervous about it. So I was just like, whatever, I can't do anything about it anyway. And also, I like being around older women. Or that's what I found out in my 40s. They're easier to be around.
Not so much drama.
Yeah. I think so.
So what's the third thing you were mentioning? Outside appearance, feeling inside, and finally.
Well, I was trying to think about there's the surface level problems of appearance, and then there's the inner conflict of maybe self-doubt, feeling like I haven't accomplished what I had thought I have, what I thought I should have accomplished by now. But again, I remember feeling like a failure at age 25. That's something I've always struggled with. So it's nothing special to 50 for me. But I think for a lot of women, it is, especially when you tell me, but I think especially for women who come from more traditional cultures, where by the time they're 50, they're grandmothers.
Yeah. And actually, from my culture, it's actually from my surroundings. there's something beautiful about the women that I know that are 50. They're not stressed out at all. They're just really happy with where they are because they have a role as a mother, as a wife, and maybe even grandma. And they just find like that is beautiful. So they celebrate it. And besides with dealing with their external look, complaining about things, but internally, I haven't experienced them being upset about 50 because they're like, wow, we're becoming grandmas. We're marrying our children off, blah, 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 blah. Or my children just graduated from university. So they're like feeling accomplished. And I don't know if that's an old world of thinking, but at least that's what I'm around. And so I think they celebrate it. And I think that's so beautiful. So in a lot of cultures like Italians and in Asian cultures, yeah, it's like with every age comes a certain dignity or a certain level of presence. And they just really embrace that compared to our Western culture where we're constantly comparing ourselves to celebrities and so on. But always the aspect of the external is there with women. Women are always worried about how they look like. That's for sure. It's a permanent mark in our society when it comes to women. So I don't know. I think there's different ways of looking at it. And I'm experiencing different people, cultures, or of acknowledging it or dealing with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like the two of us don't have a problem with aging.
Let's go. I mean, just give me a tummy tuck and then some Botox. Just kidding. I was in beauty school when I was way younger. And I remember highlighting somewhere in my book that it's always like visual for me that I highlighted, or some women used to choose to age with grace. And that's been like my motto, to age with grace as much as possible.
Which is really thought about it.
Which is really hard to do, but I keep on like coming back to that, aging with grace. I don't know. How does that sound?
I noticed that I'm trying to be real. Like, what? I'm talking to you and suddenly I have no problem with aging. I'm like, this can't be completely true. And I'm trying to think back. I live in Beijing, and boy, once you're 50 in this country, you've got one foot in the grave. And that is blue collar women at age 50 retire in this country. Officially, that's the retirement age. And then professional women retire at 55 and men retire at 60. Mm-hmm. And already people here age 35 have a hard time getting work because they don't want to deal with old people over 35. And I'm sure everything with the pressure of women getting married, yada, yada. So my point was that, yeah, I'm pretty okay with aging, but I think there's the good and bad with becoming invisible. To whatever extent you ever had fun standing out and getting attention for your appearance, that's going to make it harder as you age. You're not up for, you're not going to win that contest. That you can't base your happiness on your taut skin and your taut body anymore. It's going to have to be on something else.
But do you want to your life be excited about?
Say that again.
I said, but wouldn't that get boring? Do you want to do that all your life, where you measure your success or your happiness with the number of men like looking at you or hitting on you, or like the same consistency as when you're 21? Then we could still have men looking at us, but in a different lens. I like the way I get compliments now compared to when I used to get when I was 21, because it was like, oh, girl. I used to get like this girl, like they would focus on a certain part of my body, but now it's And now it's different. It's always whatever they would say. And then it's, I don't know, it's more meaningful to me now than it was then.
Yeah. So I think this is the shout out for coaching right here, this part, because I can talk a good game about, yeah, it's not a big deal. I'm beautiful inside. I appreciate my new life as a wise woman, and I do. But there was a process in there. I remember I had some kind of internal breakdown about how probably such and such guy wouldn't find me attractive. And a friend of mine just got annoyed with me and she's, would you even want that guy to find you attractive? Yes. And I was like, yeah, I guess I wouldn't, would I? And that's just a little shout out to coaching, because when you talk to somebody about what's going on in your head, when you have that sort of safe space, that sort of judgment free zone to just let it all hang out what you're actually thinking, and then you have someone reflect that back to you, but in a non-judgy way, you can just go, oh, yeah, I don't think I do want that actually.
Yeah. So much from my own experiences in coaching has been like just talking. And then my coach always asks the right questions where it makes me talk out my own answer or reflection, or I come to conclusions always. Yeah, it would definitely, it would be a beneficial journey to be in. While you, let's say you're going through a transition like this and working with a coach to even accept your own growth.
Because it's one thing to say these words, because on some level you intellectually mean it, but emotionally you're not there yet. And so I think
True.
coaching can help me get over that hump and really accept it. So I was doing a little research again before we started recording, and I was looking at which celebrities are turning 50 in 2024. And one of them is Kate Moss.
She's turning 50? Wow.
Yeah. She turned 50 in January.
Okay.
And this is just from some large language model, so take it for what you want. But this is Kate Moss. She has expressed reluctance about the milestone, but continues to be a fashion icon.
It feels good to hear that from a woman that we all admired. Like when I was in my teens, like she was the it girl to look like and be like. I guess it's good to have someone on our side to like parallel to what I'm gonna be experiencing, or some women are experiencing. Okay, Kate Moss.
But I just wonder, all right, it's a very generic statement. I don't know what type of reluctance. Did she really express reluctance? And how do we know she's a fashion icon?
She was in the 90s.
Yeah, she was. Yes, she was.
Was. She's not my fashion icon, but who wrote that? I guess they want to say something good.
ChatGPT, one of them.
Yeah.
It's just the collective unconscious of society. It's like Kate Moss. I'm like, okay. So what do you think if somebody's really struggling with the 5-0, what can she do? What would be the calm mind 3-step plan?
With everything we face, what do we need to do first is take a look at what is it that's bothering us? What is it about, let's just say the number 50, that's giving me this not a calm mind? What is it? First, acknowledge what it is, I would say. Because like for me, I'm going to predetermine that when I turn 50, I think I'm really going to be looking at my external, like looks, even though I want to age with grace, but I'm going to be like, what is it that I could have done or I could do to not look like how I looked as a 20-year-old, because I know that's not possible, but what can I do to be my best? So
Very good about
what
that.
is it that would bother me? Like, why have I not been able to get rid of this thing that bothers me? Identify what it is that bothers you or worries you about turning whatever age, let's say 50, in this topic. So that would be
clear, articulate. Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what, Ellie?
And then what? Then you want to ask yourself, what do I want? What is it that I want? How far off am I from what it is I want? Do I wish that I was 20 again? Do I really want to be 20 again?
Yeah. What is it and what do I want?
Or do I wish I was in slightly better shape, or that I could do some sort of regular exercise or eat better or have better friends or something? Something you can do something about rather than going back in time.
Yeah, I think for me with coaching has always been, that's one thing that it's changed me, is because usually I go into a session or I've gone to a session where I felt something and then I came to a conclusion and it wasn't that big of a deal I made it to be. I like all the stories I made up for myself and the shadows I was struggling within. It was just simple. I ended up finding out it was just a simple question or an answer of a simple question of what is it that's really bugging me? And then, like you said, what does it look like? Or what do I really want? And then when I narrowed it down, the problem wasn't that big of a deal for me to be ruined over. It was like, then I had a solution. So what is it? What do I want? Then what do we do?
What are we going to do about it?
Yeah. What do we do about it? And I think that's doable with most things. And definitely I would say to my 50-year-old friend who is stressed out about turning 50. Okay. So here you are. What's bothering you? What do you want? And then what are you going to do about it? Because if you don't do the third part, then you're back to number one again. It's good to have a plan.
Yeah. And sometimes if this is something that's really eating at you, you're not as cool as you and I are, apparently, today. Maybe what you're going to do about it, it's not going to be some grand plan. It's just going to be, I'm going to be chill. I'm going to give myself a break. I'm going to observe myself getting upset, because maybe you're not going to be able to do anything about it right away. Maybe it's just going to really suck for a while, and that's fine too.
True. Our minds have a natural ability that when it's in control, it tends to be calmer. So it's so normal to be really upset about something. But then when you really focus and you meditate on, or you just ground yourself and meditate on what it is in that bubble and that problem that's really bothering you and pushing you and pulling you. And then when you don't have a plan, or you have actually observed what it is that you're looking at, I think it tends to keep our minds a little calmer. It gives us a little power, gives us a little calmness to that I'm aware of this situation and I am doing something, even if it's something small, like you said, start a little workout or put a little more moisturizer around your neck at nighttime and your décolleté because you're doing something about it. That makes you active in your journey. So therefore, I think it gives our brain a little more calm that we are in control. So I think that's where the calm mind would start.
Shout out for the calm mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I want to normalize that it's okay to be upset about aging, and it's okay to not have some action plan right away. To just, if it's even just painful for you to acknowledge that you hate aging, that sort of meta process of I'm acknowledging and this is painful for me and I don't like this, but I'm letting these feelings come up and I'm not acting out on somebody else or endlessly scrolling or eating or drinking. Like I'm feeling the pain and trusting that it's gonna pass and something good's gonna come out of this. That is actually a lot. And
Yeah. Our mind needs 90 seconds to process every feeling and emotion we have somatically in our body and just look at it. And I do this with my clients. So we breathe through it and acknowledge what our bodies are feeling, where it's feeling, and then just sending loving breaths to that zone and that areas for at least 90 seconds, because then we come to an awareness of that it's okay to feel this way. And I'm just gonna look at it, acknowledge it like a little cloud and just let it float away. And it's okay for me to be in this mode. And it's okay for me to wake up one morning and feel I have stretch marks, to be fat, or I wake up and think my career is not where it needs to be, and don't have children, or my kids are not the way they're supposed to be, or whatever that bothers us as we're turning 50, of where we're supposed to be, we're not, and it's okay. Then finding good things that we can celebrate and be grateful for, and focusing our energy on that.
Yes. So that's a good reminder. If anybody is thinking about working with a coach, you can find our links to our websites in the show notes or at the bottom of the video. And if you have availability, you can schedule a discovery session with us and talk to us one-on-one and see if it feels like a fit. So just keep that in mind. So also, what's at stake if you're somebody who you're really struggling with being 50, you're not cool with it, you're not, so what, I'm wiser, so what, I'm mellower, or I'm beautiful inside, I don't like it, this is not what I want, I'm not cool with this. What's at stake if you don't deal with those feelings? If you just push them down and try to pretend like you're not feeling that way?
Who wants to walk around being miserable and sad or upset about anything, right? It affects us. You could have a little paper cut in your finger and the whole day is ruined because you're feeling pain and you're irritated. So what's at stake is different for everyone. Some people might be unhappy. Life is so precious to waste any minute or day at not feeling our wholeness is not fair to ourselves, because we have the gift of breathing and living life. So I feel like we shouldn't be a cheerleader at all times, but I feel like we should, honestly, I'm serious. I mean, especially what's going on in the world right now. It's I was in tears last night because I found out an ex-coworker of mine just lost her daughter. And I remember this little girl. Anyways, I'm not going to go there, but I thought, wow, we never know what's happening. Next minute, we could be not here. So I feel like we should, if we're not feeling happy or the way we want to feel, we should always do something about it. There's always choices and other options. We can't just sit and just let it consume us. So I think that's what's at stake, of not being who we want to be and not being at least happy or as whole as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And depending on where you're at, some people might just feel like that's just not in the books for me anyway. Yeah, definitely the we're back to gratitude again.
It, it makes everything better.
Yeah, it does. It does. It can feel so hard to be grateful sometimes, but it's definitely worth it if you can manage it. And what would you say the reward is for taking some kind of action rather than being passive and shutting down and building a resentment? What's the reward for working through these icky feelings?
It could one specific, it could be a lot of things, but going back to what I was saying is being happier. There's always going to be emotions and just feelings and things in life that we need to deal with. So it's our responsibility to deal with it rather than just tuck it away constantly, because it adds up. I think it adds up and then eventually becomes something we cannot easily clean. So then it changes us, it consumes us, it becomes a part of us, and then it changes our character, our personality, our lives, the way we feel, the way that we approach, and then it starts affecting the people around us. If I'm angry, everybody knows I'm angry. Everybody feels it. So why, as a mother, my responsibility is to make sure that I don't pass that on to my family, which so hard, but then I have to constantly check myself. So the reward would be just to be a better person or happier person. We own it to ourselves. What do you think is the reward?
If you can get some kind of mind shift around it, you never know where it's going to come from. I watch a lot of YouTube videos about different ways of eating. And I don't say there's any one way anybody should eat, so I'm not pushing this particular person. However, I really enjoy this one woman, Dr. Elizabeth Bright. She's a hardcore carnivore. But what I found really interesting about her is her take on menopause. She basically thinks it's a bunch of BS and that menopause is just what happens when what we understand menopause to be, this terrible thing, is just the result of a bad diet, of the accumulation of decades of not eating well. And then it causes hot flashes and hair loss and hormone fluctuations. And she has her own beliefs about what the way you need to eat to fix that. But she has this take on the beauty of human beings, like women human beings. Like when we lose our periods, we don't just die off. We stay, and we can stay very healthy because we're here, if we think just about evolution, to protect the young as grandmothers. I don't have kids, but I did get married recently, and now I have a stepdaughter. And I found that with this age, I really enjoy my role as a stepmother, and I really feel excited, even honored, which I would never say that word, right? To get to play this role. Like I'm not her mom, and I'm not a friend either. It would be weird to be friends with a 17-year-old as a 52-year-old, but I'm some kind of in between something. And I don't know, I'm just blending these two things. I can be of service to her, and she's sulky and difficult sometimes. It's hard being a Chinese teenager. They study, I'm not kidding, she leaves 7:30 in the morning. She doesn't get back till 9:30 at night. And they go to school like 9 days in a row, 1 day off. 9 days in a row, 1 day off.
I would hate school.
She hates school. And so no wonder she's sulky. But because I've reached this age and I've been so immature for so long, like I have this capacity to love her anyway. And I get to enjoy seeing myself be this generous person that I haven't always been. And I would say that is quite a reward for being 50. And
Yeah.
and this Dr. Elizabeth Bright just made me go, oh, maybe menopause isn't really what I've been told it is. Or it doesn't have to be. That planted a seed in my head. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's beautiful. I think that your wisdom that you have to offer her as a 17-year-old is not something you would have when you were younger. So you're at the right place.
No, I think if I had gotten married at 30 and I had a 17-year-old, I don't think I'd be this mature or giving. I think I
Sure.
might be as sulky as her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heads. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're at 50 minutes. So I think we should probably wrap up. Is there anything else you want to say before we sign off?
No, I'm really excited doing these podcasts with you. And I hope that whatever we talked about today is something to offer to anyone.
I do too. This was episode 1, our maiden voice.
Our first episode.
Okay, this is our sign-off slogan. Do you want to try our sign-off slogan?
Yeah, so we're keeping a calm mind. What did we say?
Keep a calm mind and see you next time.
I was so calm, I forgot. Keep a calm mind and see you next time.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.